Tonight, Donald Trump moves one step closer to the GOP nomination after big wins on Super Tuesday.
I would love to see the Republican Party and everybody get together and unify.
Herman Cain, Geraldo Rivera, and Monica Crowley are here tonight with reaction. Then is the establishment using Senator Marco Rubio to try and take down Trump.
And the presidency of the United States will never be held by a con artist.
Patrick J. Buchanan is here tonight to weigh in. And Hillary Clinton goes on the attack against Donald Trump.
America never stopped being great.
Does the Clinton campaign fear the GOP frontrunner? Plus, I'll go one-on-one with former Mexican President Vicente Fox over Donald Trump's plan to build a wall on the border. Hannity starts right here, right now. And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, Donald Trump is surging towards the GOP nomination after winning 7 states during Super Tuesday. And following his strong performance, Trump says he is the candidate who can bring the Republican Party all together. Take a look.
I am a unifier. I would love to see the Republican Party and everybody get together and unify. And when we unify, there's nobody that's going to beat us.
Here with reaction, Fox News contributor Herman Cain, Fox News senior correspondent Geraldo Rivera, and from the Washington Times, Fox News contributor Monica Crowley is with us. Herman Cain, let's start with last night. And I think if you add it 2 ways, if you agree with me that Donald Trump and Ted Cruz are the insurgent candidates, that is 10 for Trump, that's 4 for Cruz, and 1 for Marco Rubio. That's 14 insurgency wins. And you now see the reaction from the establishment. What is your take?
My take is the establishment thought 4 months ago that Trump was going to flame out, but he didn't. He got stronger. And so the establishment, I believe, is acting insane and irresponsible because now they're in a panic because they can't control Trump. So now they do want to get behind Marco Rubio. There's nothing wrong with trying to promote the person that you want to support. The problem I have, Sean, is that they also simultaneously want to try and stop somebody else. The American people who voted for Trump have spoken. Let it play out. If he's the nominee, they ought to support the ultimate Republican nominee.
I got in a little bit of a Twitter fight earlier with this Politico guy, Geraldo, and because I went on radio and I said that this is not the Marco Rubio I have known all these years. You know, how many times in his interview with Bret Baier last night and Megyn Kelly last night can he say con artist and fraud and won't denounce the KKK and hired illegal immigrants and misspelled words and the size of his hands? And that's not Marco. To me, it seems like the establishment is putting all this in his head. He's regurgitating it and being somebody that he's not. That's not my take on it. Your thoughts?
First of all, I have big hands. Marco Rubio clearly took on the role as attack dog. Marco Rubio became what Chris Christie did to him. Chris Christie destroyed Marco Rubio's candidacy.
But is this the real Marco?
Chris Christie paid the price.
Himself. Don't you think?
I don't know. I'm not a shrink. I don't care. I only know what I see. Marco Rubio tried to take down Trump. And indeed, if you analyze the results last night, I think Donald Trump underperformed. Now, Marco Rubio was effective in some of these attacks, but at the same time, Marco Rubio destroyed his own character. He made himself smaller than he is, than he could be. He, I think, eliminated any chance that he'll be the nominee. So Donald Trump, as a result of Marco Rubio's attacks, underperformed, but still he is triumphant, no doubt about it.
I think there's influence, Monica Crowley. I think there's influence coming from outside. I think he's being fed this, probably promised a lot of money. I don't think this is the Marco that we have known. And, you know, except for comprehensive immigration, a lot of people respected. And to me, it's almost like a kamikaze mission. You know, what is Mitt Romney going to say tomorrow? What's all that about? Everyone that supported Mitt Romney, what, now they're all going to blow up the party because they so hate the insurgency?
Yeah, I mean, the establishment has been in panic mode for a long time about Donald Trump, and only now are they starting to get really serious about it. And so they've decided that Marco Rubio is probably their best shot at retaining control of the party apparatus. Because remember, they hate Donald Trump, but they fear him more because they can't control him. So I think. But
they hate Cruz too. Let's be honest.
Well, of course they hate Ted Cruz, of course, because he's blowing up the whole system too. But I think with Rubio, in what he's done over the last week or so, I think the calculation is that the only way you have any chance of trying to take Donald Trump down is by mirroring him, by mocking him, dismissing him the way he's done with so many other candidates, from Jeb Bush to Marco Rubio to Ted Cruz, that you've got to fight him on his own territory. The problem is Donald Trump is the master of this game, and you can't beat the master at his own game.
And if anything, Herman Cain, Donald Trump showed a side of himself last night. I'm speaking objectively here, I'm not taking sides in this. But Donald Trump showed a side of him that was very different last night. You could even use the word presidential in the way he approached. He was magnanimous when it comes to Ted Cruz and his victories, how tough it is to run for president. You know, and what I'm watching here is the kitchen sink, scorched earth, MMA, bare knuckle brawl, thermonuclear attacks. And where does this go tomorrow night during the debate, Herman Cain?
Well, I agree with you. I saw a different Donald Trump through the eyes of the lens of the media last night when he did sound more presidential. He sounded conciliatory. He sounded calmer. He even touched on some specific substance items, which I thought came across real well. This is exactly the same thing that I heard from a lot of my callers and listeners to my radio show today. Now, where does this go tomorrow during the debate? We will just have to wait and see. Because, as you know, Ben Carson, who has announced that he won't be there, has called for more civility. Let's see whether or not Marco Rubio is going to continue the attack dog approach that you talked about, which I think that's just not his character. And I think that makes him seem smaller by trying to continue to go down that road. And then let's see what happens tomorrow. It's a big unknown.
But Geraldo, I don't think it's a big unknown. I might disagree. I think this is going to be an MMA, bare knuckles, bloody brawl tomorrow, and they're going to try and take Trump out in one punch. It's a Hail Mary.
I agree. I don't know why you're giving Marco Rubio the benefit of the doubt. He was such a little snot nose in this attack on Trump. Trump, on the other hand, I have to say, as a person who considers him a friend, I love Donald Trump. He profoundly disappointed me, Sean, with that whole KKK David Duke thing. Now, don't tell me about the disavowals and all the rest of it. I started interviewing
he did it
David
back in
Duke
August.
in June.
He did it on social media. He
June
did it on
1976.
100 times.
June 1970. Let me just give me one sentence. June 1976. I first interviewed David Duke at a cross burning outside of New Orleans. I've known this guy for over 40 years. He is a disgusting.
He's a racist punk.
Low down and dirty racist pig.
How many times do you have to
there
say
should
it?
be no. Why did Donald Trump allow even equivocation? Why did he allow this discussion?
Geraldo,
why didn't he say
accurate,
with the power that he has?
That is not
with
accurate.
the power that he has, that David Duke is scum.
He said
has
it
no
in
place in
August.
American society.
He said it on Friday.
I not only
he said it on social media all weekend. Geraldo, you're not being fair.
For the fact that he allowed, why didn't he condemn David Duke with the same vigor that he condemns the Chicago gangbangers or ISIS? Because that's where David Duke resides.
Okay, to bring it back to what's going to happen tomorrow night at the Fox News debate, look, Marco Rubio is constantly trying to bait Donald Trump into mutual combat on territory that they both understand, mocking, dismissing, ridiculing. My advice to Donald Trump is don't take the bait, because if you start taking the bait and falling into the trap, now you're fighting on the same ground.
Now
what Trump did yesterday,
that's not in his nature, though.
Yes, but what he did yesterday, first of all, he called a press conference rather than doing a campaign rally. Very smart. He took questions from the press. His demeanor was a lot calmer, more presidential. I think if he proceeds that way, he'll end up calming a lot of the fears that a lot of people might have about Trump and his demeanor and how he carries himself going forward. Is he presidential? I think he took a big step toward that last night. So if the others want to engage in a brawl tomorrow, my advice to Donald Trump is fight back when necessary, defend yourself, but don't necessarily take the bait.
Watch the cadence and tone.
Deny the others the ability to drag you in.
All right, Herman, real quick, because we got to go.
Yeah. Well, I agree with Monica entirely, and that is, if he keeps that same demeanor that he had last night in that press conference, he will rise above all of the bickering that's going to take place, as well as all of the attacks that are definitely going to come against him tomorrow night.
All right, guys, thank you all. Geraldo, I'm going to have you back on this because we need to have an argument. Thank you all. Coming up next on this busy news night tonight on Hannity.
We are going to send the message that the party of Lincoln and Reagan and the presidency of the United States will never be held by a con artist. artist.
So, is the GOP establishment, are they sending Marco Rubio on a suicide mission that could ruin the Florida senator and blow up the party? We'll check in with the original insurgent, Patrick J. Buchanan. He'll
Live from America's News headquarters, I'm Jackie Ibanez. North Korea firing several short-range missiles toward the Sea of Japan. South Korea says the missiles fell into the sea. Launch comes just hours after the UN Security Council approves new sanctions on North Korea in response to its January 6th nuclear test. The Supreme Court wrestling with its most significant abortion case since the early 1990s. The High Court hearing arguments Wednesday for and against a Texas law that would require abortion clinics to meet the same standards as hospitals. Opponents say the law's goal is to shutter clinics. NASA astronaut Scott Kelly will soon be back here on U.S. soil after spending nearly a year at the International Space Station. He will land shortly near the Kennedy Space Center there in Houston. He first returned to Earth Wednesday in the bitterly cold Kazakhstan, saying he was happy to breathe a blast of fresh air. I'm Jackie Ibanez. Back to Hannity.
The other day he told a protester, I want to punch you in the face. Donald Trump has never punched anyone in the face. He doesn't sweat because his pores are clogged from the spray tan that he uses. Donald is not going to make America great. He's going to make America orange. He's always calling me Little Marco. And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me. He's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2". Have you seen his hands? They're like this. And you know what they say about men with small hands? You can't trust them. We are going to send the message that the party of Lincoln and Reagan and the presidency of the United States will never be held by a con artist.
So Rubio's attacks turning into a suicide mission, and could it actually ruin his career and destroy and hurt the Republican Party? Here to answer that question, author of the book, The Greatest Comeback, the original insurgent himself, Patrick J. Buchanan. Sir, how are you?
I'm fine, Sean.
So I watched Marco in 2 interviews last night, and I want to be very clear here. For the record, I've always liked him. It's very hard not to like Marco Rubio. I get the sense that he couldn't get out the word con artist, fraud, supporting the KKK, hiring illegal immigrants, Trump University, over and over and over enough. Probably a preview of tomorrow's debate. Here's my question. Do you agree with me that probably this is not the Marco we've known, and B, that he's probably being influenced and he's the hired gun now to take out the insurgency?
I think he's made a calculated decision that he's going to be he's getting the applause of the media establishment. He's getting the applause of the establishment. He's tearing down Donald Trump. The establishment wants him destroyed. Marco has volunteered to be the instrument of destruction. I agree with you in the longer run. Marco is not going to be the nominee. I don't think the Trump people at the convention would ever support Marco Rubio after these kinds of attacks. But in the short run, Sean, there's no doubt about it. It is an effective tactic. It's got Marco tremendous amounts of attention he never otherwise got. Let me just tell you about the strategy they had in Virginia. They ran all these savage attack ads on Trump going over again and again and again. That's where I live. Marco's calling him a scam artist, a con artist. And Marco closed the gap there. That's the strategy between now and the Ides of March.
Okay. But if you look, Pat, you know, he got the votes, most of his votes in Northern Virginia. That is not an area where any Republican is going to really do well on in a general election. Same in Minnesota. I mean, he's looking at Minneapolis, St. Paul, not exactly Republican-friendly territory here. So what is his goal here? In other words, is his goal to win, or is his goal to prevent Trump or Cruz from getting 1,237 delegates?
His goal, you're right, this is not a general election strategy. It's not even a good nomination strategy, but it is a good strategy if the objective of you and your supporters is to bring down Trump, no matter how you have to do it, because we can't accept him. And there's a lot in the media, there are a lot here in the establishment in Washington, there are a lot of folks in the party who would be delighted to see Donald Trump taken down.
And you don't think there's been backdoor meetings and closed-door meetings and smoke-filled rooms, and he's not getting support and being offered money to do all this? Maybe it's my conspiratorial mind. I think this is orchestrated, well-funded, and well-organized.
Right. I think this helps Marco in the short run. In the long run, I agree with you. I think it may terminate his political career. And what I don't understand is if they manage to destroy Donald Trump, who do they think's going to get the nomination? Marco?
Ted Cruz.
Well, the likelihood is Ted Cruz, and the establishment doesn't like him any more than they like
They hate him
Donald.
both. And they hate you also, Pat, by the way, for the record. They don't like me either. Well, but, all right, so 14 to 15 contests, though. 14 to 15 go to insurgent candidates. If you agree with me that both Donald Trump and Ted Cruz are insurgents, let's look at the polls. You got the Real Clear Politics average in Florida, for example. Donald Trump, 40.3, Rubio, 20.8, Cruz, 15.8. Here's how bad it's gotten. Now, I want to be very clear. I like the old Marco Rubio. I didn't like the comprehensive immigration bill, but he was a Tea Party guy in 2010. But when he runs an ad like this, invoking the KKK, when Donald Trump had disavowed it again and again and again, this to me is now way beyond the pale of what I would expect in a primary. Let me roll tape.
I asked Donald Trump 3 times if he would disavow the support of David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan.
Well, I have to look at the group.
Trump refuses to denounce the KKK. Think about that. For president?
Ronald Reagan made us believe that it was morning in America again. Well, now the children of the Reagan Revolution are ready to assume the mantle of leadership.
Now, that's a Rubio super PAC. Pat? Your reaction to that, because I'm stunned.
It is outrageous. Everybody knows that David Duke has got nothing in common with Donald Trump, and Trump and the KKK is preposterous, outrageous. But when a reporter goes up, do you renounce the KKK? They put that in people's minds. It is insidious, and the idea that Rubio and his super PAC, I understand why they're doing it. They want to destroy this guy, Sean. They're going all out.
Does
they
it
think
work?
He's a menace to the party.
Do you think this works? And also what's coming in tomorrow night's debate?
I think, to a degree, it is hurting. I think it hurt Trump, the attack ads in Northern Virginia. I don't know if the KKK was in there, but these things are designed to hurt him. My guess would be you might see some kind of closing in Florida. But again, you got to wait for March 15th. And I'll tell you, then at that point, we're going to see whether Trump has a clear shot to the nomination and can't be stopped, or whether he's going to be short in terms of delegates.
Does he have to win Ohio and Florida on the 15th? Or
I don't think so. I think if he wins one of the two, frankly, even if he loses them both, he's not done. There's races between now and then. But I will say this. Look, the people in the Republican establishment, the enormous turnouts we're getting, I've never seen anything like this.
They should be ecstatic. They should be happy.
If you can pull this party together, Sean, you can beat Hillary. Her turnouts of her and Bernie are anemic despite the big turnouts for Bernie.
Isn't it amazing?
This thing is winnable if the party gets together.
But they hate the two top guys, the two most popular people that are winning in this process. They hate them.
Well, they're going to have to get over that by after March 15th, I'll tell you, or they will be responsible for blowing not only the opportunity to win. This, I think, if you drive these Trump people off from the party who are coming in, the party is gone, and I don't know why it shouldn't be. Look, the establishment's positions have been repudiated. They're not coming back on trade or intervention or open borders or all the rest of it. That is over. Bush Republicanism is yesterday, and the establishment has got to wake up to it. Otherwise, it's not going to have any future at all.
All right, Pat Buchanan, the original insurgent. Thank you for being with us. And coming up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
I'm going to get along great with Congress, okay? Paul Ryan, I don't know him well, but I'm sure I'm going to get along great with him. And if I don't, he's going to have to pay a big price, okay?
All right, according to a new report, Republican leaders in Congress, they're working on a plan to deal with the surging Donald Trump. So did the party establishment underestimate Trump's campaign? Also later tonight.
We know we've got work to do, but that work is not to make America great again. America never stopped being great.
So does Hillary really fear Donald Trump? Ed Henry will have a full report. We also get reaction from Professor Cornel West, and I go one-on-one tonight with the former Mexican President Vicente Fox over the border. That and more tonight on Hannity.
I'm going to get along great with Congress, okay? Paul Ryan, I don't know him well, but I'm sure I'm going to get along great with him. And if I don't, he's going to have to pay a big price, okay?
All right, that was Republican frontrunner Donald Trump talking about Speaker Paul Ryan last night. So is it time for the GOP establishment to accept that Trump will be the nominee? Here with reaction, conservative columnist A.J. Delgado and former White House press secretary Ari Fleischer is with us. AJ, look, you were right about Trump's rise way before other people, and you and I were discussing this recently on Twitter, and you were dead on accurate. When Marco Rubio, who I know you used to like, and I've always liked him, now starts invoking the KKK in spite of many disavows. To me, it's a bridge too far. To me, that in my mind conjures up a conspiracy to just go scorched earth and destroy the whole party because they're not winning.
Absolutely, and I think the establishment has a choice to make. They could either go with Rubio's disgusting tactics lately, or they can realize that Trump will be the nominee, so they could either get on board, or they can choose to reveal themselves to be puppets of the donor class, people who are not with the American people and standing against immigration the way Trump is with us. It's a case of, to borrow my fellow guest, former boss's term, it's a case of you're either with us or you're against us. You're either with us, with Trump and with the people and standing against America and standing against illegal immigration and standing against the donor class, or you're with the likes of Marco Rubio, somebody who said in 2010 that he would never support amnesty, and then exactly the moment he was elected into the Senate did just that. There's something mentally or morally wrong when you can support that type of candidate.
Ari, if you look at 14 out of 15 contests won by insurgents, you look at Donald Trump's success in this race, what I think the establishment is not getting is that they created Donald Trump and Ted Cruz's popularity by not using the power of the purse to repeal and replace Obamacare, by making a promise in 2014 that they would defund Obama's executive amnesty. Look at the polls, the exit polls last night. 60% of Republicans in most states feel betrayed by their party. Right. And now the establishment is turning around and they're going to go scorched earth because they're not winning?
Well, I do think the establishment helped create the rise of Donald Trump because of the frustration a lot of voters feel with all things Republican. I also think Barack Obama helped create Donald Trump because he has been the lead contributor. He's been the lead contributor of the difficulties in Washington, that people are crying out to go in a different direction. But here's the shape of the race as I see it right now, Sean. The Trump train is leaving the station, but at this point it's got 34.9% of Republicans on board. That's his percentage of the winning vote in 15 states, 34.9. He's not above 50 yet. And when you go back 4 years ago, Mitt Romney had won 50% in 4 states by Super Tuesday. So he hasn't put together a majority coalition yet. That's why March 15th is crucial. If he can do it on March 15th, I'm willing to say it's over. But right now, remember, the majority, almost 2/3, have said they want somebody else. And that's the shape of the race.
But you have a 5-people race up until today with Ben Carson not going to the debate tomorrow night. AJ, talk about that, because I thought Trump actually reached out and said, okay, I want to bring the party together. It's going to be probably a bare knuckles brawl, as I've been calling it, tomorrow night. What do you think will happen?
I think he'll take Florida. I'm in Florida. I think we see through Marco Rubio here, and I think that will be the death knell in Rubio's candidacy. We're tired of these two-faced politicians, as I said earlier, somebody who ran on an anti-amnesty platform and then not only supported amnesty but became the front man for it. We do not want that type of man in the Oval Office, at least Floridians don't. So I think Trump takes Florida, and that's when you're going to see the coalition and maybe Kasich and Carson drop out. And I think those voters, a big flock of them, some of Cruz's will end up going to Trump, and then we'll have the numbers that Ari's alluding to, that Trump really needs to ferment his
Ari, does any of what's happening bother you? Scorched earth, invoking the KKK, even though there's many, disavow. Yeah. Does that bother you? Because that bothers me. That's a bridge too far for me.
Well, Sean, 2 points. One, I criticized Donald Trump for his answer to Jake Tapper's question. I pointed out he did answer it properly at the Chris Christie news conference, but you should always say that. He created that problem himself. I accept his denunciation. But he did it the Friday before.
He did it over the weekend before the Tapper interview.
That's not an excuse not to do it in the Jake interview. He created his own problem, but I'm over that. I criticized him. But here's the second point, Sean, that I wanted to make about the shape of the race and the type of campaign now. Donald Trump questioned Ben Carson's religion.
He's tough.
Questioned Marco Rubio for being corrupt with his credit card. So, look, I don't fault Marco Rubio for punching back on the same tough level. That's politics. That's what they're doing to each other. If it's wrong for Rubio, it's wrong for Trump. Welcome to politics.
All right. Yeah, what's a blood sport? I got to roll. Guy, AJ, welcome back. We missed you. It was my fault. I forgot to call you.
I missed you, Sean.
All right. We appreciate you being back. Ari, always good to see you. And coming up next, tonight on Hannity.
We know we've got work to do, but that work is not to make America great again. America never stopped being great.
All right, during her speech last night, Hillary Clinton slammed Donald Trump. Is that a sign that Clinton could be starting to fear the GOP frontrunner? Well, the one and only Cornel West will join me to weigh in on that and more. And then later tonight, former Mexican President Vicente Fox. He's been ridiculing Donald Trump and his plan for the border wall. I'll go one-on-one with him later tonight. Hey, welcome back to Hannity. 2016 Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton won 7 states last night, and during her Super Tuesday victory speech, well, she took some not-so-veiled shots at Donald Trump. Watch this.
We know we've got work to do, but that work is not to make America great again. America never stopped being great. Instead of building walls, we're going to break down barriers and build ladders of opportunity and empowerment.
So does the Clinton campaign actually fear Donald Trump? Joining us now, Ed Henry. Do they fear him?
Well, Sean, at least publicly they insist they don't. And I think what's going on here with that comment you saw there, a series of comments, is a strategy from Hillary Clinton. Number one, she wants to look past Bernie Sanders. Yes, he did better than expected last night. He won 4 states on Super Tuesday. He outraised her in the month of February. He's got another $12 million beyond what she raised in February. So he's sticking around. He's not going away. But Hillary Clinton wants to look past him by attacking Donald Trump instead. Secondly, she is having an enthusiasm problem, an energy problem. And so that's why she wants to pit herself against Donald Trump, go after some of his incendiary comments, and basically say, look, I'm the one who's going to restore sanity here. And what is that about? That's about trying to juice turnout. Democratic enthusiasm has been lagging. You've seen that in terms of turnout among Democrats compared to Republicans in primary after primary. But as you say, there are some Democrats warning the Clinton campaign that it may be a mistake for them to take Donald Trump lightly. Look at Mudcat Saunders. He's a Democratic strategist, a conservative Democratic strategist, used to advise Jim Webb, who's a failed presidential bid. He said this today, quote, I think Trump could beat her like a tied-up billy goat. There are many areas in key swing states like Virginia, North Carolina, Ohio, and Pennsylvania that look like Sherman went through and didn't burn anything. Empty factories, empty buildings, few opportunities for young people. It's sad. It should be no surprise to anybody that voters in those states are gravitating to Trump. So look, she wants to make this Clinton v. Trump, and it may end up being that. But there are some Democrats warning her that Trump may be stronger than she thinks in the general, number one. And number two, by the way, Bernie Sanders is still trying to tap into those very same voters. And you have the Ohio and Michigan primaries coming up the next 2 Tuesdays. Sanders hopes to make one last stand there.
I hope she's paying attention that the FBI director said he's taken ownership of the investigation and the emails. And Joe DeGeneva, former U.S. attorney, says he believes a grand jury's been convened. So we'll be watching that closely. Ed Henry, thank you.
Good to see you.
Joining us now to weigh in on the 2016 race, the professor of philosophy and Christian practice at Union Theological Seminary, also a professor at Princeton University, Dr. Cornel West is with us. How are you, my friend?
Always a blessing, my brother.
It's always, come on. I have a hard time going at you because we're good friends. Let me play for you. Don't you find the race card repugnant? You do.
Oh, absolutely.
Let me play Hillary Clinton. I want you to objectively tell me if this is playing the race card.
Mm-hmm.
Republican governors and legislatures are erecting one barrier after another that make it harder for black people to vote. It's a blast from the Jim Crow past, and we need to call it for what it is. And in state after state, they're doing everything they can to stop black people, Latinos, poor people, young people, people with disabilities from voting. It's a blast from the Jim Crow past.
Do you know anybody that's trying to stop black people, Latinos, poor people, young people, people with disabilities from voting? Do you know who's doing that?
No, I think there's no doubt. I was just talking to my dear brother, William Barber, Reverend Barber, the keen-like figure of our time, about the voting suppression activity there in North Carolina. As you know, there's a court case going on right now.
But do you know anybody that's actively trying to stop people from voting?
Well, it's not a question of motivation. It's a question of effect and consequence. If, in fact, we see that it's harder for black people, brown people to vote.
How's it harder?
Well, no, that's what the arguments are about. That's what the arguments are about.
But when she talks about Jim Crow past, I thought, and then she goes into a Southern, I thought we were done with that in the 60s.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Come on, wait a minute. That's playing the race card, isn't it?
Well, it's her attempt to be fake and phony and try to mobilize people who want her to vote. Because, I mean, you and I know the country's in deep trouble, though, Sean. You know that you're having a meltdown on one side and a breakdown on the other. I mean, I think that Donald Trump himself is a dangerous neo-fascist in the making.
Oh, stop it.
And you know what I mean by that? You know what I mean by that?
Hey, neo-fascist. You just throw out these words. Stop
it's true.
it.
It's true. Because you know what neo-fascism is?
He's a nationalist and he's populist. And he's with conservative leanings. That's not a fascist.
Autocratic sensibility. With the Muslims, the Mexicans, and not only that. Look what he said about the press.
James Clapper, the National Intelligence Director, the FBI Director, Obama's envoy to defeat ISIS, all said that ISIS will infiltrate the refugee population. So he said, put a hold
on all Muslims in the world
until we can secure the safety and security of Americans. I'm not willing to gamble with Americans' lives. Are you?
Well, I'm not willing to gamble, but I'm concerned about rights and liberties. I'm concerned about the precious humanity of Muslim brothers and sisters.
If our intelligence officers say that ISIS will infiltrate, don't you worry about that?
But the sad moment is this. We've got, on the one hand, a milquetoast neoliberal in Hillary Clinton.
Milquetoast
neoliberal, tied to Wall Street, tied to big money. Then we've got a dangerous neo-fascist with the only way out is the genuine populism of my dear brother Bernie Sanders.
You want the communist.
He's a genuine populist.
No, he's a
genuine populist.
He's an admitted socialist.
Well, he calls himself a socialist.
Well, he is a socialist.
No, but I'm a genuine democratic socialist.
Right, but here's the thing.
He's a genuine.
Let me ask this question.
He's not calling for the limitation of private property. He's not calling for national.
You know how you call me Brother Sean?
Yes, exactly.
And you call our friend Tavis Smiley Brother Tavis?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Tavis actually said that Hillary better be careful that the black vote could go to Trump.
Well, no, the black vote won't go to Trump.
You know why they shouldn't? No,
Trump scapegoats the vulnerable too much. No. Precious Mexicans, Muslims, women. You can't get away with that.
Can I ask you a question?
On the other hand, I can say this. Hillary doesn't have enough gas in her tank. And that's what the only person who can beat Trump is Bernie Sanders. Look at the polls. Look at the polls.
Here's what I want to ask you.
Yes.
Are black Americans, there's millions more in poverty since Obama's been president, million more on food,
Child poverty is higher.
Millions more poverty, millions more food stamps, millions more out of the labor force. 50% of black teenagers can't get a summer job. If I didn't have a summer job, I'll get in a lot of trouble.
You and me together.
Okay,
you and I together.
We would have been good friends.
Absolutely.
All right, but here's the problem. Is black America better under Obama? No, it's not better under social liberal policies.
But you know what it has, though? Symbol. You see, large numbers of black brothers and sisters are tied to symbol. Obama.
Symbol doesn't put food on the table.
I agree, but symbols play a very
Symbol's not
important
a
role.
job.
Symbols play a role. Now, you know my own criticisms have been trying to get beyond symbol and try to talk about substance.
Hey, how about we get people back to work and get an economy working?
That's what Bernie Sanders talking about.
If you become energy independent, like Republicans are talking about, if you actually build the wall, there's less competition with the illegal immigrants.
You don't want to build a wall.
I want to build a big wall.
You want to build a big wall?
Huge.
That's wrong, bro.
That's right.
Can't build a wall.
Yeah, we can. And we can hire Americans to do it.
No, Sean, you don't want to.
You need a drink, right?
We're going to have to steal away and have a cognac on that.
You're going to need a cognac.
We can't be building no wall.
Oh, we're going to build a wall. It's coming.
A big wall. But
I'll go down there with you. And you know what? Less drugs will be coming into the country, less crime, and people that want to come in here legally, they can be a part of our family legally.
Yeah, but that's a longer discussion. But at the same time, the important thing is...
You almost agreed with me.
No, not at all.
Your solar plexus winds towards my direction.
No,
I got to roll.
All right.
You got to come back more often. We miss you. All right, up next, you don't want to miss this here on Hannity.
We are going to have a wall. I watched the ex-president of Mexico, the arrogance of this man.
Donald Trump went after former Mexican President Vicente Fox. I go one-on-one with the former president right after this break. An interview you don't want to miss. Straight ahead.
We are going to have a wall. I watched the ex-president of Mexico, the arrogance of this man. And I get along great with the Hispanics. You saw in Nevada, I won in the poll, the Hispanic vote. Vicente Fox, first of all, he used a word that you should never have. If I ever used that word, you folks would have never, ever, ever let me get away with it. Nobody even talked about the word he used. And this is the ultimate word. But he was angry at the concept of somebody saying that they were going to pay for the wall. Mexico's going to pay for the wall.
All right, that was 2016. GOP frontrunner Donald Trump last night taking a swipe at the former president of Mexico. Joining me now to respond to Mr. Trump is former president of Mexico, Vicente Fox. Mr. Fox, welcome back to the program, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying, please wake up America from this Republican nightmare that is causing a lot of noise outside of the United States. And I say it with clarity that is nothing personal, but is really worrying us outside of the United States, the way he has set some programs that he's about ready to launch. And I think if I start by the economic side, he shows a lot of ignorance.
Mr. Fox,
yes.
You called him a Nazi. You used the F-bomb on him. I want to play for you. Now, I've been down to the border 10 times. I've been in drug warehouses, floor to ceiling, nothing but drugs that were being brought in from your country, Mexico, for the children of America. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen gang members. I've been out with Border Patrol, watch gang members get arrested crossing your borders. Similarly, I've been out on horseback, all-terrain vehicle. I've seen tunnels that were dug.
I was ready to speak about the worry about economic terms to show the ignorance of this guy. It's
wait, you're talking about, do you care about the American people? Do you care about Americans that are victims of crime?
My grandfather,
do you care about drugs being brought into America?
My grandfather was an American, born in Cincinnati,
I'm fine with that.
Ohio.
But do you care about America? I just showed the video of drug warehouses. Do you care?
It's part of and I respect pretty much America, and that's why I intervene, because it worries me for America, worries me for the world, and worries me for Mexico.
But you wouldn't even admit to me in the past that illegal immigration exists. Do you acknowledge that people are entering America illegally?
It exists, but you don't finish with that with the stick or with violence or being aggressive.
Nobody said to be violent. We're just building a barrier.
And offending half
What's
of
wrong
the
with
world.
building a wall, sir? What's wrong with
and that should be known.
Oh no, I think walls work pretty good, actually. That's where that's why criminals are surrounded by walls in prison.
Chinese wall that he mentioned never worked.
Let me play for you, and I want you to respond. There are 642,000 crimes, and this was in 2014 in a 7-year period.
That cannot be. I don't accept
Sir, let me
that.
play it for you. You can hear it yourself. These are border agents giving real statistics. Play the tape.
Criminal aliens have been responsible for about 642,000 criminal offenses. You look up there in the top left, sexual assault. There's close to 8,000 victims.
642,000 crimes
since 2008
in Texas alone.
Yes, sir.
By over 200,000 individuals. Their criminal history reflects that they were committed over 642,000 crimes.
That's the cost of not securing the border.
642,000 crimes since 2008 in a 7-year.
That's not true.
So our Border Patrol's lying.
It happened in the whole of the United States.
No, we're never going to agree, because I believe those people that are there. I was in the drug warehouses. I saw the underground tunnels. I watched criminal aliens get arrested, gang members.
Not for that. We were going to talk about Trump.
We did talk about Trump. You used pretty nasty language towards him.
He's going to take this nation to the desert. He doesn't understand about creating jobs. He only lies and lies and lies and uses whatever is convenient for him without any attention to facts. That's why I say he's an egocentric. He is not only looking out and for the rest. He believes in the white supremacy.
All right, that's ridiculous. I gotta go.
That's Hitler. I mean, it's
that's
absolutely.
Hitler. That is a disgraceful comment, sir, for you to say that's disgraceful. America has a right to protect its children from the drugs that cross. Listen, I understand most people want jobs.
The Republican Party.
I understand that you didn't fix the economy of your country. I understand that most people. Oh no, you didn't. Then why are they all coming to America? But we have the right to protect our children from the drug trade and the crimes that are committed on the border by illegal immigrants, sir. And you ought to respect that.
To stop consumption of drugs in this nation.
That's true too. I agree with you.
Yeah,
right, but I gotta
it should
go.
be done because that's the problem for Mexico. We don't produce drugs significantly.
You're right. The consumption is a part of the equation, but distribution is also a big part of the equation.
So,
I gotta go.
I mean,
Thank you, sir.
It's incredible.
All right, and coming up, we need your help. Our very important question of the day, straight ahead. And time for tonight's question of the day. So who do you think is going to win the Republican nomination? Just go to Facebook.com/Sean Hannity, @Sean Hannity on Twitter to let us know what you think. That's all.